Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 327, The Process of Thought Generation, Part 1. The Steps to Generating a First Thought. The podcast objectives are: lay a foundation for your victory over doubt, analyze the mental steps we take to generate a first thought, and define some of the key actors and faculties within our mind. This lesson contains timelines and other visuals. Therefore, if you are listening to the podcast, I advise you to watch the video version on our website or YouTube, or request a PDF of the lesson so you can add the visual effect. Your victory over doubt. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to day 52 of our exposition of lawlessness. In the most recent podcast, we initiated an analysis of the facet of our beings that doubt is designed to plague. Enter our minds. We will continue that analysis in this podcast and in the upcoming podcast for the following reason, which I would ask you to bookmark and always remember. For the enemy does not want you to retain this knowledge. The progression of doubt is a process, and the only way to stop the process is to understand the progression. Else, we will surely become casualties to doubt, and we will never be sealed, having failed to defeat the most basic of all the degrees of lawlessness. Here lies the inflection and the reason why we must continue this analysis. Vis-a-vis, the progression of doubt occurs in our minds. Ergo, the only way to overcome and eliminate doubt is by understanding the progression of doubt in our minds. Along these lines, there are many actors and mental faculties in this procedure, and we will analyze these at the high level for the remainder of this podcast. My ask is that you pay close attention to this lesson, because I am laying a firm foundation for your future and permanent victory over doubt. Generating a first thought. Now, at the heart of all the mental activity which transpires in your mind is one of the most powerful and important features, not only within your thought dimension, but within your entire being. Enter your central processing unit. Similar to the central processing unit of a computer, the CPU within the mind receives the output from our right brain and our left brain, and it processes the data using the guidelines of the zone of origin. Along these lines, your CPU should be viewed as the engine of your thought dimension. For not only does it establish harmony between your spirit and physics, but it is also the mental motor that generates every informed thought you will ever have. Now, to better understand all the areas of our thought dimension influenced by our CPU, we should consider a more detailed rendering of our thought dimension. This will not only allow us to better understand the complex nature of our minds, but it will also allow us to better understand the role doubt plays in subverting our spiritual growth. And here you can see to the right is that more detailed view of our thought dimension. And we will analyze this diagram in the upcoming slides. To begin with, the CPU is at the center of the thought dimension. It receives a combination of physical and spiritual input, and it transfers the output through a series of mental checkpoints which work together to generate and form thoughts. The first mental checkpoint in this process is the zone of impressions, as you can see by the image to the right. To wit, the initial output of our CPU, harmonizing our physical and spiritual thought processes, is an impression. By definition, an impression is the first and immediate effect of an experience or perception upon the mind. Along these lines, our impressions are usually undeveloped, as they represent our initial reactions to our senses. They are independent of all the other faculties of thought generation within our mind. For that reason, our impressions should be viewed as the raw data points that set the chain reaction of thought generation in motion once and one time only. Hence the popular line, you only have one opportunity to make a first impression. Now, once an impression has been formed, your CPU pushes the impression forward in the thought generation process, and it begins generating the next form of output in the process. Enter feelings. By definition, feelings are the collective sentiments we have on a matter, which informs our attitudes and our opinions. The general state of consciousness considered independent of sensations. This definition reveals that our feelings are, to some degree, independent of our senses. The question then is, what are the primary influencers of our feelings? The answer is sure. As you can see by the detailed diagram to the right, our feelings are influenced by our emotions and our experiences. Let's start by considering our experiences. Experience is the fact or state of having been affected by or gained knowledge through direct observation or participation, something personally encountered, undergone, or lived through, the conscious events that make up an individual life. Classically, our experiences validate our feelings to a degree because they remind us of how we felt during a particular episode in our life, providing us with a more dynamic and direct faculty of memory. Not only this, but our experiences, unlike our memory, are directly tied to our most accurate perception of reality. And thus, the knowledge we pull from our experiences will always be more accurate than any knowledge we are forced to recall from our memory, which is located on the periphery of our thought dimension. For these causes and more, our experiences are designed to have the greatest impact on our feelings. As the saying goes, experience is the best teacher. Now, in addition to your experiences, your feelings are also impacted by another crucial force within your mind. Enter your emotions. By definition, an emotion is a mental force that causes a strong agitation of the thought dimension. It is an overwhelming encounter, usually accompanied by certain physiological changes. For example, increased heartbeat, respiration, crying, or shaking. Contrary to our experiences, our emotions are not great teachers. And yet, if we are wise, we can indeed learn from them. It will take a great deal of mental discipline, but it can be done. And it must be done if you are to gain the victory over doubt and all its degrees. As you can see by the diagram to the right, we have now reached the juncture in which we generate our first thought. And so we will table this discussion for now. In tomorrow's podcast, we will progress our analysis of our thought dimension. To wit, we will analyze the origin of our first thought and what transpires after. From there, I will show you how doubt manipulates the actors and faculties within our mind to cause us to walk in unbelief. After which, I will show you how you can use the power of faith to reverse this spiritual career ending process. And so, again, I ask you to stay with me. I promise you, if you allow me the time to paint the full picture of doubt, you will receive great revelation and you will be inspired in your fight against this spiritual disease. For you will know everything you must do to eliminate doubt and to reign over it, such that you are never defeated by doubt again. Now, here is the final word. In warring doubt, what did I find? The key was coming to know my mind. I trust the Spirit has already begun to reveal this to you. For look, listen, it has been written, for as a man thinks, so is he. Thus, it is imperative that we come to understand the progression of our thoughts. For if our thoughts are marred with doubt, we will find ourselves in opposition to Elohim. Therefore, we will continue to analyze the evolution of our thoughts and those intervals where we are vulnerable to doubt. And then I will show you how you can wield the power of faith to not only eliminate every degree, but how you can guard your mind and forever keep them out. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on the word you have heard today. And as always, ask the Father to reveal the truth to you. For the children of Elohim live by conviction. And if he has not convicted you, or if you had not heard him concerning these matters, you should pray until you do. Today, I want you to meditate on all the actors and faculties within your mind that we have covered in the lesson. And I want you to think on the role each one plays in generating your thoughts. And if you have any questions at all at this time, I want you to reach out to me. As I said before, I am operating at a very high level in these podcasts. To wit, I am only sharing a minor fraction of knowledge in these lessons. Therefore, if you need any additional information to help you in your understanding, I will reach into one of my volumes on these topics and share the insights the Father has revealed to me by his Spirit. For it is his will that I also reveal these to you. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 327, The Process of Thought Generation, Part 1. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 328, The Process of Thought Generation, Part 2. I will post this podcast on Friday, August 23rd, 2024. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. Continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.